Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you all so much for joining. Thank you for your very, very kind association. So we'll start with our Bhakti Vaibhav session. Let's offer our Mangalacharan prayers and then we'll go ahead with the chapter. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiraye. Nashtiprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamani Dadati Swadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatharini वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे। गुरुवे गौरचंद्राय राधिकाय तदालय कृष्णाय कृष्ण भक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपः तमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य ईश्वर। Hare Krishna. Thank you so much once again for your kind association. Can somebody put on the group that the class has started? Because if devotees, they don't know, they can at least join. Okay, so we are in the section of Bhakti Vaibhav. We are in Canto 1, and this is chapter number 6. We have finished in the last class, this chapter number 5, where Narad Muni was describing his pastime. And then Narad Muni was telling Vyasadeva that you should also describe only the exclusive glories of Lord Shri Krishna, so that can help all the people in general, so that their miseries can be mitigated. So we saw in the previous chapter how Narad Muni told Vyasadeva his personal mantra that he got from Bhakti Vedantas. So the Bhakti Vedantas, they came, they stayed at the house of the mother of Narad Muni. And then Narad Muni explained that how he was able to serve, he got an opportunity to serve those Bhakti Vedantas. He got initiated, and then we discussed that how Narad Muni also told Vyasadeva the 14 progressive stages of bhakti that he personally experienced because he was initiated by Bhakti Vedantas into a mantra. That mantra was personally shared by Narad Muni to Vyasadeva. And that mantra was Om Namo Bhagavate Tubhyam Vasudevaya Dhimahi Pradyumnaya Niruddhaya Namah Shankarshanaya Cha. So this mantra was describing the glories of Vasudev along with his plenary expansions, that is Pradyumna, Aniruddha and Sankarshan. Prabhupada says that this mantra is not an ordinary mantra that can be chanted by anyone and everyone, because this mantra is being begun with Pranava Omkara. And such mantras should only be chanted by Dvijas, by the Brahmanas who are double initiated, who are, especially if we see in our Sampradaya, we get Harinam Diksha and then we get Brahmana Diksha. And when we get Brahmana Diksha, then we get the adhikar by the spiritual master to chant these mantras that have Omkara Pranava or some Bija mantra like Om and others. And then we have Dhimahi. Okay, so like I meditate. Now, yes, these mantras are openly written in various books. Even if you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, many of the mantras are being revealed and it's written in the book. It's available everywhere. But there is no point in chanting the mantras unless and until it is given by the spiritual master to a disciple. Even if these mantras are available, because these mantras have a pranava omkara or any bija mantra, there, and of course, followed by Dhimahi, one should not chant these mantras openly. So, we should be very careful because these mantras will have potency only and only when it is heard by the spiritual master. When spiritual master speaks in the ears of the disciple, only then such mantras become fruitful. So Narad Muni explained this to Vyasadeva. And then he told that this is my personal experience that I have shared everything with you. And the conclusion, he said, is that please describe the glories. Why? Because these glories of the Supreme Lord, they satisfy the hankerings of the learned men also. At the same time, it also helps in mitigating the miseries of common people. Then finally he said there is no other way to get out of such miseries. And there we ended the previous chapter. I know in the last class, Preeti Vilasni Mataji has given the overview of the entire chapter of chapter 6. So definitely we'll not go into it. What we will do is we'll straight away start with chapter 6 now. So this is the further conversations that happened between Narada and Vyasadeva. So now when Narad Muni told his mantra, basically he also initiated Vyasadeva because he told the mantra and then he told Vyasadeva to meditate and finally write this Amala Puran, this Srimad Bhagavatam. So then Vyasadeva, Suta Goswami is now explaining to Shaunakadi Rishi in Naimisharanya that what all happened. Evam nishamya bhagavan devarshe janma karma cha bhuya paprichatam brahman vyasa satyavati sutaha. So who is Vyasa? He is Satyavati sutaha. He is the son of Mother Satyavati. And after hearing Devarshi Janma Karma about his birth and his activities, after knowing everything from Narad Muni, still Vyasadev Bhuya Prapricha. Papricha means again further inquiries he made unto Narad Muni. Somebody can read the translation.
Srila Prabhupada Ji ki jai. Suta said, O Brahmanas, thus hearing all about Sri Narada's birth and activities, Vyasadeva, the incarnation of God and son of Satyavati, inquired as follows. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So Vyasadeva wants to know further. In the previous chapter, we saw that how Narad Muni described the progressive stages, but two stages were left. He told that how he attained prema. Okay, starting with Satam Kripa, Mahat Seva, and then Bhajana Kriya, and then Anartha Nivritti, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Prema, Bhava and Prema, that all he has described in the previous chapter. But now finally the last two stages, that is condensed Prema. So when the Prema gets condensed, then what are the two stages? That is Darshanam and Harir Madhuri Anubhav. Means experiencing the sweetness of the Supreme Lord. So still these two stages are left, and in this chapter, Narad Muni will be explaining these two stages also. Vyasadeva was further inquisitive to know, this is purport by Srila Prabhupada, Vyasadeva was further inquisitive to know about the perfection of Naradji, and therefore he wanted to know about him more and more. This is also a very good quality that a disciple should have. The disciple should always be inquisitive, to know about his or her spiritual master, to ask him about some spiritual questions, or even the spiritual master's own experiences that a spiritual master can share. And sometimes when in person we ask such questions, and when there is a small gathering, it happens that the spiritual master confidentially reveal, not in a general public class, but in general, in a confidential way, he sometimes reveals his own experiences, right? So, but the disciple should be qualified enough. If the disciple keeps on asking some material, mundane questions, then the spiritual master is not interested in revealing anything. And sometimes it happens that he ignores. Why? Because he is a spiritual master, not a material master. So it's very important for all of us because we are all in the sadhaka stage. So we should also know from these verses, this conversation that is happening between Vyasadeva and Narada Muni is actually the conversation that should happen between a disciple and a spiritual master, where a disciple should be inquisitive and he or she should be able to serve the spiritual master and then ask some these questions, like how Vyasadeva, who was further inquisitive. Actually, Narad Muni has given the mantra, right? He has initiated. So sometimes when we also take initiation, we feel that's it, that's the end of the story. But that's not the end of the story. Actually, that's the beginning. Initiation means beginning. So that is the beginning of our spiritual life, where we officially step into the process of Bhakti Yoga. And now we are only and only on the mercy of the spiritual master who can help us to cross over all the obstacles that comes on the path of our spiritual progress. So Narad Muni Vyasadeva was also inquisitive, and therefore he was asking further perfection, because when he was shared this mantra, then the natural was in the heart of Vyasadeva, what did you do further? After initiation, what did you do? And that's the right question. Right? Before initiation is just a preliminary steps that we take. But after initiation is the real change, happens. So he wants to know that when you were initiated, what did you do? I want to know everything. In this chapter, after being asked by Vyasadeva, Narad Muni will describe how he was able to have a brief audience, that is darshanam, with the Supreme Lord. while he was absorbed in the transcendental thought of separation from the Lord, and when it was very painful for him. So, again, how do we get this audience of the Supreme Lord? When we are in the thought of separation, when we cry. His Holiness Gaur Govind Maharaj would always say, if you have taken initiation in Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya and you have enrolled yourself in the crying school, it's not the crying of the material miseries, but it's crying from the separation of Krishna. That I don't want any other allurements, but I only want Krishna. That kind of bond or contract we sign. And therefore, he says that this separation lead to a brief audience with the Supreme Lord. And after that audience, also there was separation. And that separation was very painful for Narad Muni. So this is our dear Srila Prabhupada, who is actually sharing his ecstasy with us. And therefore, he is revealing what was there in the heart of Narad Muni. So this few verses are very normal verses, nothing much to say. So we'll quickly go through. Text 2. Vyasa vacha bhikshubhir vipravasite vikyana deshabhistava vartamano vyasadye tatah kim akarod bhavan. So now Vyasadev is inquiring. And what he's saying, vibhikshubhir vipravasite. When these bhikshus, when these bhakti vedantas, when they, great mendicants, when they departed, vipravasite, when they departed, and having initiated you in the mantra of transcendence, then what did you do? Vartamano vyasyade tatha kim akarod bhavan. Somebody can read the translation.
Sri Vyasadeva said, "What did you, Narada, do after the departure of the great sages who had instructed you in scientific transcendental knowledge before the beginning of your present birth?" Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. So, yes, he asked that what did you do? Who has instructed you in this scientific transcendental knowledge before the beginning of your present world? So Prabhupada writes, Vyasadev himself was the disciple of Naraji, and therefore it was natural to be anxious to hear what Narada did after initiation from the spiritual master. And this we have discussed, that actually the real beginning of our spiritual progress happens after initiation. He wanted to know, follow in the footsteps in order to attain to the same perfect stage of life. Now, Narad Muni has perfected his life. At least in the previous chapter, we saw that he has attained prema. So he said that you have perfected your life and I want to follow into your footsteps. So I want to know everything after what you did after you got initiated. This desire to inquire from the spiritual master is an essential factor to the progressive path. And this process is technically known as Sadharma Pricha. So this is also very important. Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu has given this process to all of us. Those who are Bhakti Shastris, actually all of you are. That's why you are here. So there, the starting processes, the main process, the 64 limbs of devotional service that Srila Rupa Goswami has described in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. In those 64 limbs, he starts with the very first important limb, and that limb is Guru Padashraya, when one take exclusive shelter of the lotus feet of a spiritual master. So our real progress in our bhakti starts with our surrenderance, our acceptance of Sri Guru, and we take his shelter. But does the process stop there? No. After this process of taking ashraya, taking shelter, we get initiated. A bona fide spiritual master, he initiates us into a mantra. And after that is the real beginning that starts. And then we start inquiring about our transcendental occupational duties, not the regular occupational duties that we perform in the ashram which we are in. But we inquire about our transcendental occupational duties. And this inquiry is what is Sadharma Pricha. But there also Rupa Goswami says, after inquiring also the process doesn't stop. Then what you have to do? Sadhu Marg Anugamam. Then you have to follow in the footsteps of the instructions that is given by the spiritual master. So then the process starts, the process of Bhakti Yoga. So imagine out of 64 limbs of devotional service, which Rupa Goswami himself says are what? Are just pradhan, are just the main ones. Otherwise, there are millions of limbs of devotional service that has been described by Srila Sanatana Goswami in his Hari Bhakti Vilas. But Rupa Goswami says, I've taken only the pradhan ones, only the important ones, and have been categorized them as a 64 limbs and have presented in this book of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. But out of those 64, he says the first three, that is Guru Padashraya, Sadharma Pricha, and finally Sadhu Marga Anugamam. That means following in the footsteps of bona fide spiritual master are the most important. So Vyasadev, so this is what is the process technically known as Sadharma Pricha, that Srila Vyasadev is following by asking inquiries from his spiritual master, that is Vyasadev. Yes, Bimal Prabhu, you have raised your hand.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, or Vishwapad. Mataji, one quick question I have is, now Mataji, this process is going on where basically Vyasadev is trying to get the instructions or trying to follow what Narad Muni has done, basically, right? So I know I'm in the process of getting initiated. So when we get in the process of initiation, right? So do we need to check with our God brothers what was the instruction given by our spiritual master or what we have to follow? Because in this stage, spiritual master association is not that much, right? So are we supposed to do anything like that, Mataji, for us here?
Of course, why not? In that inquisitiveness is always beneficial. Yes, the spiritual masters are not available these days because they have so many disciples. But also there should be some connection with the spiritual master. So if you cannot get those personal instructions, then at least whatever the general instructions he gives in his class, take that as a personal instruction and try to follow. But yes, with your day-to-day inquiries, with the problems that you face in the spiritual life, or if you want to further know, you can always ask your senior God brothers. There is no harm because they will also share their experience, what they felt, if the spiritual master is not available. That's why in our parampara, the system of Shiksha Gurus is being introduced. Now, good Bimal Prabhu, you have asked this question. The word Shiksha Guru is a very important in our lineage because our lineage is a Shiksha Parampara. Like we see, Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj was not the Diksha Guru of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Okay, he was a Shiksha Guru. And similarly, our Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj was also a Shiksha disciple of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So all this parampara that we see has been a Shiksha parampara that has been established. It's only after Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj who gave Diksha as well as Shiksha to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And finally, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Swami Prabhupada gave initiation to our Srila Prabhupada. So the point is that, yes, as you said, we can inquire from such Shiksha Gurus or senior disciples, senior God brothers. But this term Shiksha Guru should not be taken loosely. Okay, I have personally come across many people who consider you Shiksha Gurus, and then they just disregard you. So that will be a grave offense in the entire lineage of Parampara. So it's very important because Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that Shiksha Gurus and the Diksha Gurus should be given equal weightage. So before we choose, just like for the Diksha Guru, we think twice. Similarly, for Shiksha Gurus also, we should think twice. Just seeing somebody's reel, just seeing somebody in the real form, we cannot consider them as Shiksha Guru. Dive into their personal life, see how they are handling. Only then we can accept somebody as Shiksha Gurus. If somebody is giving some class or Bhakti Vriksha leaders, they may or they may not be a Shiksha Guru, but you have to be very, very particular whom you are respecting, whom you are accepting as Shiksha Gurus, because they have to be given the equal weightage. Therefore, it is very, very important on the part of the devotees also that let not they accept any Shiksha disciples, because the responsibility lies a lot, a lot. Therefore, just be an advisor, just be a helper so that you can help somebody in their life, but don't accept this don't loosely use these terms as Shiksha Gurus or Shiksha disciples, because it is very extremely hard to maintain, extremely. But in general, as you said, I was taken a sidetrack because I really get very, very upset when this word comes in, because these days people have started loosely using these terms and they are not having this intention that how the Shiksha Gurus should be treated. So, but as you said, that when Diksha Gurus are busy or they are not available, then yes, some senior disciples can be asked such questions so that you can advance. Okay. Text 3. Swayambhuva kaya vritya vartitam te param vaya katham chedam udaprakshi kale prapte kalevaram. So now somebody can read the translation.
I can read, Mataji. Hare Krishna Dhanvat Pranam. O son of Brahma, how did you pass your life after initiation? And how did you attain this body, having quit your old one in due course?
Thank you, Mataji. So now he's saying, O son of Brahma, after initiation, what did you do? So in purport, Prabhupada writes, Sri Narad Muni in his previous life was an ordinary maidservant son. So we saw this. And so now how he became so perfectly transformed in the spiritual body of Satchit Ananda, of eternal bliss and knowledge, is certainly important. And Shri Vyasadeva desired him to disclose the facts of everyone's satisfaction. So he said, now for everyone's satisfaction, I want you to please disclose this fact. Okay, let's go text 4. Prakalpa Vishayametam Smritim Te Munisatama Nahi Esha Vyavadhat Kala Esha Sarva Nirakriti. Somebody can read the translation.
Oh, great sage, time annihilates everything in due course. So how is it that this subject matter, which happened prior to this day of Brahma, is still fresh in your memory, undisturbed by time?
Thank you, Madhuri. So now Vyasadeva was very inquisitive. Why? Because he says that time annihilates everything, even our memory. So right now also, if we experience some misery, some problems, some obstacles, the only thing we hear is, don't worry, everything is anityam, right? That's what even Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Matra sparshastu kaunteya sitosna sukha dukkhada. Right? Then he says, what is that verse? Matra sparshastu kaunteya sitosna sukha dukkhada. Agama paino anityas tam statikshvasa bharata. O Bharata, O son of Bharat, O Arjun, you have to tolerate. Why? Because everything is anityam. Everything is not eternal in this world. Even the problems will go away. Even the obstacles go away. Even the sufferings go away. Just like happiness doesn't stay always, similarly, the sufferings will not stay always. These are all like summer and winter seasons. So everything is annihilated by time. So Vyasadeva was very inquisitive that you are talking about the previous kalpa. And we know one kalpa, the day itself is 1000 Divya Yugas, and then 1000 Divya Yugas of night. So many millions and trillions of years have passed. How come that memory is still fresh? How come you carry the still fresh memory in your heart? Now, this is very important. Okay. So now he's saying, it's still fresh in your memory, undisturbed by time. So how come it is so fresh? And that freshness, when we have, is known as Jati Smaran. So Jati Smaran is actually a person who has this Smarana Shakti, where they remember their previous lifetimes. So Narad Muni was one of them. And therefore Vyasadeva is asking, he said, I want to know, because you are talking about the previous kalpa, when you were the son of the maidservant, and now you have become a transcendental, divine, intimate associate of the Supreme Lord. So how that transformation took place, I want to know. Prabhupada writes in the purport, as spirit is not annihilated even after annihilation of the material body, so also our spiritual consciousness is not annihilated. Shri Narad Muni developed this spiritual consciousness even when he has his material body in the previous kalpa. What does it mean? That when he was the son of the maidservant, he has already developed that spiritual consciousness. That means he was already on the stage of prema. So this sadhaka deha that we have is actually very important, that in this deha itself, in this body itself, that awakening of bhava should happen. Okay, so that awakening of at least bhava means the budding stage of prema should happen. That means we should try to cross over all the progressive paths and come on the level of asakti, and then the bhava gets manifested. So this is how we develop the spiritual consciousness. And when one develops the spiritual consciousness, even though if somebody is a material body, it doesn't matter. We are in this world, but we don't belong to this world. We are not of this world. And that's what he is asking. So Prabhupada is writing, consciousness of the material body means the spiritual consciousness that is expressed through the medium of the material body. So the real constitutional position, the consciousness that we have, and what should be the consciousness? Jivere Swarupa Hoy Nityera Krishna Das. That should be the real consciousness that we should have. And in this body itself, we have to come to that stage. So this consciousness is inferior and destructible and perverted. Which consciousness? The consciousness that we carry in this material body. The consciousness of I and mine. The consciousness of possessiveness towards our possessions, towards our family, towards our friends, towards our nation, can go and extend to any extent. But that is not the consciousness. The real consciousness, the spiritual consciousness, is to realize that I am the servant of Lord Shri Krishna. Ekele Ishvara Krishna Arasavabhritya. That only Krishna is my Ishvara. All are his servants. They are his part and parcel. And my position is nothing. I am not an Ishvara. But my position is Jivere Swarupa Nityera Krishna Das. That I am always Krishna Das. Super consciousness of the supramind in the spiritual plane is as good as the spirit soul and is never annihilated. And when this consciousness is carried, then this consciousness also becomes an eternal consciousness, just like a spirit soul. The spirit soul is never annihilated, never destroyed, never withered by wind, never burned by fire. These are the qualities that we read in Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter. The qualities of the spirit soul. The spirit soul is eternal. Similarly, the real constitutional consciousness that a spirit soul carries is also never annihilated by time. It also is eternal. And that is what our Prabhupada is telling, that how our Narad Muni developed this spiritual consciousness, and therefore it is never annihilated, and he is able to express. And this is known as Jati Smarana Shakti. And a person who developed this Shakti, who has this Shakti, is known as Jati Smara. Like we have the example of Bharat Maharaj. So Bharat Maharaj, when he got the deer body, then also he was Jati Smara, because he knew what all he did in his previous life. So he didn't commit the mistake again, and he associated with the sages in their hermitage. And after quitting that dear body, he got another lifetime, that is of Jada Bharat. So he still remembered. Why? Because in the first life as Bharat Maharaj, he was on the level of bhava, where that spiritual consciousness was awakened, and therefore he was able to remember everything. Text 5. Narada Vacha. Yes, Divyangi Mataji, you have some question?
Yes, Mataji, in the previous purport, in the last line, Srila Prabhupada mentions a supra mind. I was wondering what that means.
Supramind. Okay, good question. Let's all search what our dictionary says. This is Prabhupada's English. I don't want to speculate anything. A state of consciousness or intelligence that is beyond the human mind. Got it, Mataji? That
Wonderful, thank
is what the supramind is. Thank you. Thank you for telling me also. Okay, text 5. Narada Vacha Bhikshubhi Vipravasite Vijnana Deshtribhir Mama Vartamano Vyasyate Tata Etad Akarasham. So now he's saying Vivikshu Vipravasite means when they left after initiating me into this scientific knowledge, then I had to do what I did. Let's read the translation. Narad Muni said, somebody can read.
May I, Mataji?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sri Narada said, the great sages who had imparted scientific knowledge of transcendence into me departed for other places, and I had to pass my life in this way.
So they initiated him, they departed, they left. And then I had to pass my life in this way. Another classic learning that we get is that the spiritual master is not going to stay with you forever. So he is going to spoon feed you in your initial stages, but after that he leaves. He leaves. And this Bhakti Vedantas, they also left. So when Srila Prabhupada was in this world, and he initiated so many disciples, but after that he has to leave. And all these disciples were in their 20s when Prabhupada left. So the movement itself was very hard to sustain. But all glories to all the disciples of Srila Prabhupada who struggled and followed the instructions of Srila Prabhupada and were able to sustain this movement till today. So this is what happens. So what is important is not the Vapu Seva, is not the body Seva, the Vapu Seva that we do of our spiritual master. Yes, it is important. It's an opportunity to serve spiritual master menially by serving him. But at the same time, the more important is his Vani Seva, the instructions that he gives in his classes or the personal instructions that he gives to his disciple. There are so many disciples who were initiated by Srila Prabhupada only by the medium of a letter. And they have hardly met Srila Prabhupada once or twice. What to talk about them? Even our dear Srila Prabhupada met his spiritual master, that is Bhakti's Divine Grace, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, only maybe 3 or 4 times. That's it. But what one carries in the heart is the Vani, is the instruction that the Guru gives to the to the disciple. So the great sages, Narad Muni, saying that they departed, but then I have to pass my life. And in purport, Prabhupada writes, in his previous life, when Naradji was impregnated with spiritual knowledge by the grace of great sages, there was a tangible change in his life. Although he was a boy of 5 years, he was just a small boy. Now, this is an important symptom visible after initiation by a bona fide spiritual master. So when somebody gets initiated, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes, Diksha kale bhakta kare atma samarpan, sei kale Krishna tare kare atma sam. So Diksha kale, at the time of initiation, bhakta, the disciple or a devotee, what he does, kare atma samarpan. He surrenders 100% onto the spiritual master. Therefore, it is said that once you take initiation, there is no looking back. Before taking initiation, you can think 1,000 times whom to take initiation, how to surrender, or you can see all the pros and cons. You can speculate in 1,000 of ways, and that is perfectly allowed. That is perfectly allowed. But once you have decided, even though you have not taken initiation, once you have decided, Guru Pad Ashraya, and you have taken the shelter of a spiritual master, and the formal process of initiation has not happened, that doesn't matter. Your surrenderance or you're taking shelter of the spiritual master and the spiritual master accepting you as a disciple is enough. Is enough. But the formal initiation, that stamping, even though if it is not happened, it's okay. But when it happens, when that stamping happens, there is no looking back. There is no looking back means that there is no way where you start doubting your spiritual master or consider him as an ordinary man, because then it becomes a maha aparad. It becomes Nama Parad. You all must be chanting the 10 offenses to the holy name. So the offenses to the holy name, in one of that offense is where you disobey the orders of the spiritual master. You do Guru Avagya, right? When you don't follow, then what happens? It is no more a Vaishnava Parad. It may be in the category of Vaishnava Aparad, but now it has become a Nam Aparad, because that Nam is given by that spiritual master, that Guru, that bona fide spiritual master. So therefore, it is very important that when we take Diksha, after taking Diksha, there is no looking back. Diksha kale bhakta kare atma samarpan sei kale, because at that time when the bhakta does atma samarpan, fully surrenders, sei kale, at that time Krishna tare, Krishna, he liberates that person Kare Atmasama, and he accepts him as good as himself. So that is the beauty of initiation. So actual association of devotees brings about a quick change in life for the spiritual realization. How it so acted upon the previous life of Narad Muni is described by and by in this chapter. So how it happened, that Narad Muni will be describing. And now Narad Muni started describing. Yes, Praladananda Prabhu.
Ma'am, Pranam Mataji, I just wanted to share this information that all the letters Srila Prabhupada wrote to different disciples and all that have been compiled by Bhaktivedanta Archives in 3 volumes known as Siksamrita. And they have categorized all this alphabetically in 3 volumes. And
Yes.
these are really good one because we have any question about any of these topics, you can directly refer there and find out the answer. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Praladhan. And these are what that have to be secured for lifetime after lifetime. Even if you see these purports of Srila Prabhupada are not just the purports. As Prabhupada says, these are my transcendental ecstasies, but also for a reader or a person who is doing this patan, who is studying these purport, they are actually the personal letters of Srila Prabhupada to all of us. Through these purports, we get so much knowledge. We get so many instructions. How Srila Prabhupada want all of us to behave in this devotee community by not criticizing anybody, but accepting everybody as a temple of Lord Shri Krishna. I know it's a very high platform. We all are material conditioned, at least myself. So, but we got so many guidelines through these purport, how to behave, what are the Vaishnava etiquettes, and all these guidelines are given in Prabhupada's purport. So therefore, these purports of Prabhupada's are the personal letters to all of us. And therefore, we should take it very seriously. And that's why Prabhupada says, study my books scrutinizingly, not like reading newspaper, but scrutinizingly. Understand each and every word of it. Text 6. Thank you, Prabhuji. एकात्मजा मे जननी योषिन् मूढ़ा च किंकरी मयि आत्मजनन्य गतो चक्रे स्नेहानुबंधनम. Somebody can read the translation. Quickly.
Hey Krishna Mataji, can I read?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was the only son of my mother, who was not only a simple woman, but a maid servant as well. Since I was her only offspring, she had no other alternative for protection. She bound me with a tie of affection. Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanavad Pranam.
Thank you, ma'am. Ekatmaja, I was only son. Ja means, Atmaja means son. Ekatmaja, I was the only son of my mother, of my Janani. And that Janani was Moodha, Chakinkari. She was a Kinkari, she was a maid servant. At the same time, she was Moodha. Now, Prabhupada says Moodha means foolish. Now, which son will call his mother foolish? And especially the person who has got so much mercy of Bhakti Vedantas. But this is the negative connotation of the word. So every word may have a positive connotation and a negative connotation. Now here, Moodha actually means, yes, foolish, person who is foolish. But that is a negative connotation. But here, what our acharyas brings out is the positive connotation. That means she was uneducated. She was a very simple-hearted woman. She was very innocent. She was very naive. She didn't know any prapanch of this world. She was so simple-hearted. Also, she was kinkari. She was a maid servant. She was not exposed to the material world. My Atmaje Ananya Gatav, and also Because I was his only son, she had no alternative to protect. She was the only source of protection for me. And therefore, Chakris Nehanumandanam, she bound me with the tie of affection. So mothers normally bind their children with the tie of affection. But when there is an only child, then naturally that affection is more. But that affection should be only limited to the progress of a child. That's the real mother, where Bhagavatam also says, Guru Nasasya, Janani Nasasya, means what is the use of that spiritual master? Don't become that spiritual master if you are not able to liberate your disciple. Don't become a father or a mother if you are not able to guide your children on the path of Krishna consciousness. So that means we should give them bhakti. Now they will accept it or not. It's up to their karmic reactions also. But as the duty, as the responsibility of a parent is that they should introduce this process of bhakti in the life of their children. And that is the real sneha bandhanam. That is the tie of affection that the parents have with children. But in this case, she was a very naive woman. She was a very innocent woman, very simple-hearted. Therefore, Prabhupada says she was not only a simple woman. Prabhupada is not using the word here, she was a foolish woman. She was only a simple woman, a simple-hearted, and also she was a maid servant. And therefore, because there was nobody who can protect me or there was any alternative for protection, she bound me with the tie of affection. And this bondage of tie of affection was not one-sided. It's not that only she bound her child, means the previous birth of Narad Muni, but also even Narad Muni was also thinking that she is the only source of my protection. What else can you expect from a 5-year-old boy? So that boy also thought that she is the only source of my protection, and therefore he was also tied in that bond of affection. Text 7. Saswantantra na kalpasit yogakshemam mamechati ishasya hi vashe loko yoshadaru mayatha. Somebody can read translation.
Hare Krishna Mataji. She wanted to look after my maintenance properly, but because she was not independent, she was not able to do anything for me. The world is under the full control of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, everyone is like a wooden doll in the hands of a puppet master.
What a beautiful verse it is. So many lessons one can learn from just this one translation, though Prabhupada has not given any purport. But there is so much to learn. And this is also because of Srila Prabhupada, because he have guided us so many ways through Bhagavad Gita, through Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, through Deshamrita, that today we are able to understand this word, these translation, even though Prabhupada has not given the purport. That how she wanted to look after my maintenance properly, yogakshemam, mamichati, but because Saswan Tantra na kalpashit, because she was not independent, she was a dependent woman, she was not able to do anything for me. Now, what does it mean, anything for me? Because she was not able to guide her spirit, guide that boy spiritually. Otherwise, taking care of daily maintenance, she was able to do. That's why they both were tied in the affection of Snehanubandhanam, right? But spiritually, she was not able to help much. Ishasya hi vashe loko yosha daru mayatha. And this world is under the full control of the Supreme Lord. Everyone is like a wooden doll. Again, the same verse. Ekale Ishvara Krishna arasaba bhritya yare yaiche nachay saitache kare nritya. The only Ishvara, the only Swatantra, the only Swarat is our Lord Shri Krishna. He declares that he is a Swarat. He's a transcendental autocrat. Right? Arasava Pritya. Rest, all of us are just his servants. And jare jai che na chahe, se tai che kare nritya. And jaise Bhagwan nachate hain, hum nachte hain. That should be the mood. How? Then he gives the analogy, just like a wooden doll in the hands of a puppet master. So what swatantrata, what independence the wooden doll has? Practically nothing. The wooden doll is only dancing as the puppet is making that dance, the wooden doll. The wooden doll is simply dancing in that manner. Similarly, we should also understand that whatever is happening in our life is the mercy of the Supreme Lord. He is the one who is making us dance. And if we dance on his tune, then it will be very good. If we go against, then it will be very difficult. Just like if you swim along with the current of a river, it's so easy. But if you go against, you have to struggle a lot. Similarly, whatever comes in our life, if we take it as a mercy, as the mercy of the Supreme Lord, or we see the hand of the Supreme Lord in everything and anything that has happened to us, then we are always under his shelter, because we are like a wooden doll in the hands of a puppet master. That's what even Srila Prabhupada taught us when he was coming to West in his Markine Dharma, the poem that he wrote, on Jaladuta. There also he says, Kashtera putali jatha nachao se mate, nachao Prabhu, nachao se mate. He didn't have his own agenda, his separate agenda to come to West. He said, I am simply following the instructions of my spiritual master, who gave me this personal instruction to go and preach in the West. So I am what? I am Kasthera Putali. I'm just a wooden doll in the hand of you, O Supreme Lord. Kashtera Putali, nachao se mate. You can make me dance the way you want. Nachao se mate. Make me dance, make me dance, make me dance as you like. This is what is known as surrenderance. This is what is known as aligning your mind, aligning your life as what Krishna wants. Not swimming across the current, but with the current. So this is what the surrenderance is. And that's what is being explained by Narada. Text 8. Aham cha tat brahma kule usham vamsted upekshaya digdesha kalivat panno balaka panchahayana. Somebody can read the translation.
When I was a mere child of 5 years, I lived in Brahmana school. I was I was dependent on my mother's affection and had no experience of different lands.
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. Balaka Panchahayana. I was only 5-year-old boy, and I was in Brahmakule. I was in a Brahmana school, and I was totally dependent on my mother. So this verse also shows that Sneha Bandhanam in the previous to previous verse we saw was not only from the mother's side, but even the 5-year-old child was totally dependent on his mother. Sorry, Praladananda Prabhu, you have raised your hand. You want to say something?
Mataji, I just wanted to share that the same message Narad Muni gave to Yudhishthir Maharaj when Dhutras Gandhari they left the house, and he told that I think it is in the first chapter,
Yes.
13th chapter, where it says, Ma Kanchan Sucho Rajan, Yad Iswara Vasam Jagat. The whole one, it says, O pious king, do not lament for anyone, for everyone is under control of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, all living beings and their leaders carry on worship to be well protected. It's you only who brings them together and disperses it. So that is the same message he had given to you this time. Like that. So I just wanted to share that. Mata.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. Text 9. Ekada nirgatam geha duhantim nishigam pati sarpodashat padasprishta kripanam kala chodita. So now Narad Muni is revealing his heart that how the world is fully under the control of the Supreme Lord. And we are just the wooden doll in the hands of a puppet master. This line now he is revealing that what happened. Ekada nirgatam geha duhantim nishigam pati. My mother, one day in the night, ekada nirgatam geha, she has gone away. For what? Duhantim, to milk gam, means cow. She went to milk the cow. Sarpo dashat padasprishta. And then because it was night time, she was not able to see. So she accidentally stepped on a serpent and then she was bitten by the serpent. Kripanam kala chodita. And he said that that lady, that mother of mine, under the influence of time, Kala Chodita, he's not blaming a snake, he's not blaming the time, he's not blaming his mother, he's not blaming anybody. But he's saying, under the influence of time, Kala Chodita, she was bitten by a serpent. Yes, somebody can read translation.
Mataji, can I read?
Yeah, quickly go ahead.
Once upon a time, my poor mother, when going out one night to milk a cow, was bitten on the leg by a serpent influenced by the supreme time.
Yeah. So now he's saying that he was, thank you, Mataji, that under the influence of time, she was bitten by a snake. What? That is the way of dragging a sincere soul nearer to God. This one life is enough. This one line of Srila Prabhupada is enough for us to lead our life in Krishna consciousness. So much, like Hindi में बोलते हैं ना कि गागर में सागर भर दिया. This one line that Prabhupada writes is enough for us to follow the instruction throughout our life. That when under the influence of supreme time, if something happens to us, that is the way of dragging a sincere soul nearer to God. Right? So Narad Muni didn't take it otherwise. See, this was her mother. His mother was the only source of his protection. But he didn't take it otherwise. And he said, under the influence of supreme time, this happened. And Prabhupada is writing that this is the way of dragging a sincere soul nearer to God. This is what is known as force surrendered. One surrender is when we ourselves wholeheartedly surrender unto the Supreme Lord. Another surrender is when the Supreme Lord thinks that I want this soul back home, back to Godhead, and he makes so many arrangements. He makes so many arrangements where the soul forcefully surrenders, has no other way left open. सारे दरवाजे बंद हो जाते हैं. All doors are closed. Then which door is open? Only the door to surrender and bow down to the Supreme Lord. That door is only open. And that is what Krishna has made this arrangement. And that is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to explain us, that I am here to give you this process of surrender. And this is what is, you have to surrender and then you will go back to, or you will be drawn closer to the Lord. So there is also a very beautiful story that is being mentioned that happened with Shri Krishna and Arjuna. Once they visit a village and they happen to go to a very wealthy merchant, and they disguised themselves into some brahmanas, and then they beg from that merchant, a very wealthy merchant. And that merchant said, oh, You are so shameless that you are such a strong person and still you are begging. Why don't you work? Just go away. And he didn't give anything or didn't satisfy these two Brahmanas who were disguised. And they were actually Krishna and Arjun. So he said, you just go away. And then Krishna, what benediction he gave? The benediction he gave is that may your wealth increase more and more. Now, somebody can think that how come this benediction is given by Krishna? Because getting wealth is a kind of an opulence that one has. But Krishna gave this benediction and they left. Then they entered into another house, and that house was the house of a widow lady. And she had no possession at all. But when they went, she was very happy that, wow, two Brahmanas have come to my home. So she welcomed them, fed them with whatever little she had in her house. And what she had was only a pot of milk, because she had only one milking cow, and she milked that cow and she brought that fresh milk. Now, they both were very happy. They were pleased with her attitude of devotion and they left. Now, when they left, Arjuna asked this question. So now you are so pleased with this lady. What grant you will give? What boon you will give to this lady? You were not pleased with that wealthy merchant who ignored us, who never welcomed us, but you gave such a wonderful benediction of getting more and more wealth. But then, wow, what benediction now you will give to this lady? You are so happy. Then Krishna said, of course, I will give her also the benediction. And the benediction is that may her cow die tomorrow. Now Arjun was perplexed. What are you talking? That cow is the only support of that lady, and you will take cow also from her. How will she live? Then Krishna explained, see, Arjun, when I gave that benediction to that wealthy merchant who ignored, I gave that may you get more and more wealth. But what kind of wealth? The material wealth. But what will happen after that? When he will leave his body, he will be thinking only of that wealth that he has incurred the whole life. And in the next life, he will get a snake body. So much degradation will happen ultimately. But this lady has only one attachment, and that attachment is with her cow that she possesses. And she will, when she will leave this body, she will be thinking of that cow only, that who will take care of this cow? This cow will grow old. Some butcher will come, will take away that cow, will slaughter the cow. She will be thinking of that cow. So I want to remove that attachment also, that last attachment she is carrying. Therefore, I'm saying that may that cow die tomorrow, so that whatever attachment she has with the cow will also go away, and then she will be left practically with nothing. Then what will be there? Only thing she will be left is remembering me. This is how possessive Krishna is. He doesn't want anybody else. He says, when you surrender to me, surrender exclusively to me. Ananyata ke saath meri bhakti karo, mere samarpan karo, means exclusive surrender to Krishna. And then she will be left nothing, and the whole time she will devote to me. And then when she will leave this body, she will be remembering only me. And then, if somebody remembers me and leave this body, then they will attain me. She will come back to my abode. So the moral is that whatever Krishna does will do only for our benefit. Even we are in a great difficulty, but that way we have to understand is the way of the Supreme Lord. We may sometimes feel that the Supreme Lord is so cruel. Is he really God? We challenge ourselves. We challenge our faith, our devotion. Does he really exist? How cruel he can be. But we don't understand his hidden plans. Right? Krishna himself says, Yasyaham anugraham harishyatad dhanam sanai. Tato dhanam tajjantasya swajana dukkha dukkitam. When I give my mercy, then what happens? First of all, I take away the wealth. And then when the wealth is gone, naturally the relatives and the friends leave. And such a person become poverty stricken. And in this way, one suffers distress one after another. This distress goes on. See, now we have enrolled on the path of Bhakti Yoga. And this enrollment that we have done is not an easy process. Trust me, it's not an easy process. Every time, at every step, we will be challenged. At every step, we will be checked. We have to give exam. But the point is that the more we surrender, the more we see Krishna's hand, the more we will understand his hidden plans, and the more we will be remembering him. So it's up to us. Sometimes getting suffering will deviate us from the path of Krishna consciousness, but that's not what Prabhupada wants. That's not what Prabhupada wants. Therefore, Prabhupada says, oh, who is scribbling? Jai Lakshmi Mataji, if you can be little careful, there's some scribbles happening. So that is the way of dragging a sincere soul nearer to God. One line is enough. That how when these provoking situations, these reversals comes in our life, then that is the way where Supreme Lord is dragging us to him. The poor boy was being looked after only by his affectionate mother, and yet the mother was taken from the world of the supreme will in order to put him completely at the mercy of the Lord. And this is what a forced surrender. And we see the classic example of Jagai and Madai, where they were rogues. They did practically all the sinful activities. But when Nityananda Prabhu thought that now I will liberate these two people, nobody can stop. And he did. So these Jagai and Madai, Chaitanya Bhagavat explains, Chaitanya Bhagavat, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur explained that this Jagai and Madai, they were so sinful that anybody who sees them, just by seeing them, what they will do is, any Brahmana or any person, when they see Jagai and Madai, Vastra Sahit, they will do Ganga Snan. They will do Ganga Snan with their clothes on, because they see that they think that they have seen such impious people, such sinful people. They were not impious, rather they were sinful and extremely sinful. But Nityananda Prabhu thought, now this is the time to show my mercy. This is the time to show the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he said that I will transform these rogues into a high-class Brahmana. And such a first-class, not only Brahmana, but a high-class Vaishnava, that just by seeing them, the people of Navadvip will think that they have done Ganga Snan. No more doing of Ganga Snan. Darshan pavitra karo ai tumhara gun. I will make them such a high-class Vaishnava that just by seeing them, they will become purified and there will be no need of doing Ganga Snan. So this is the forced surrender. When Krishna wants us, then nobody can stop him. But when Krishna doesn't want, then nobody can approach him. So we have to await for the mercy. And this mercy can come in any form, whether it can come in the form of opulence, or whether it can come in the form of poverty-stricken or some sufferings or some obstacles. But we should think that actually it's Krishna's mercy. My Lord is supremely auspicious. He is what? Like our Goswami, Shri Tulsidas, he says in Ramcharitramanas, Mangala Bhavana Mangalahari. He's always Mangala Bhavan. He's always giving auspiciousness, and he takes away Hari, inauspicious, amangal. He takes away all inauspiciousness. So when he's Mangal Bhavan, how can he do something inauspicious to his devotees? He cannot, right? The only thing is our perception of seeing those things. And when we see in the light of Krishna consciousness, then we will understand that actually it's the mercy of Krishna. but it has to get revealed over the period of time. And during that transition time, it's the duty of a disciple, or it's a duty of a devotee to stay in Krishna consciousness. Just like we are in a ship, the turbulence will come. But if imagine you are in the middle of the ocean and there is a great turbulence and you are in a ship, and just to save yourself from the turbulence, you jump out of that boat, you jump out of that ship. You can imagine what will happen. What will happen? Will you able to survive in that great vast ocean? Even you are the expert swimmer, you will not able to survive. Because in the middle of that deep ocean, there are so many sharks, whales, so many aquatic animals. And how long can you swim? Nothing. So the only way is to stay in that boat. And my Guru Maharaj always says that this is the boat of ISKCON. No matter what happens, stay in ISKCON. Stay loyal to Srila Prabhupada. Follow his instructions. These turbulence that you feel in your life will eventually go away. Will eventually go away. But our duty is to stay in that boat. Be calm, be peaceful, stay in that boat, and he himself will reveal. Krishna will reveal. Text 10. Yes, Praladananda Prabhu.
Sorry, Mataji. But there are some slokas which come to my mind. And this one is Tattero Kampam Susamismano Bhunja Nevatma Pritami. Our attitude should be this, that whenever rivers come to our life, they say undoubtedly they come in everyone's life. But then our attitude be this, that I'm suffering because of my wrongdoings, not let Krishna. And that's how he says that Rad Bhagva Bhuvra then Namaste Jiveti Mukti Balasadai Bhag. So that was one slok I just want to share, Mata. Very well,
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. That's the perfect shloka in the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, that if we live by that shloka, then we'll always be happy and we'll always be in our path of Bhakti Yoga. We'll never be deviated, because Tattyanukampam susakshamano, when we see susakshamano, ikshamana means to see. Samikshamana means to completely see. And susamikshamana means not only completely seeing, but having an overview of everything. Picture, the big picture that you say. And that big picture is to see the hand of the Supreme Lord in everything that happens in our life. And then only he says that then you will become the right candidate to receive the mercy of Anukampa, the compassion, the mercy of the Supreme Lord. But hid vag vapu, with your heart, with your vak shakti, with your speech, and with your body, you have to surrender and think that whatever is happening, it's the result of my own karma. That is the true devotional service. A mature devotee recognizes the superficially good and bad conditions he encounters as the sign of the direct guidance of an ever well-wisher Lord. This is what Prabhupada writes in one of his purport. Thank you, Prabhupada. Text 10. Tada tad aham ishasya bhaktanam sam adhipsata anugraham manyamanaha pratistham disham uttaram. Somebody can read the translation.
I took this as a special mercy of the Lord, who always desires benedictions for his devotees. And so thinking, I started for the north.
I took this, what this means? The death of his mother. When the mother was bitten by a snake. I took this incident as a special mercy of the Lord. Why? Because that Lord is always desires benediction for his devotees. The Lord is always Mangalahari, Amangalahari. He is always the bestower of auspiciousness. And so thinking that yes, something auspicious is there waiting for me on the path, I started for north. And Narad Muni, that small little boy, he started for north. Prabhupada writes in his purport, Confidential devotees of the Lord see in every step a benedictory direction of the Lord, that the Lord is showing his benediction. This is the faith. Avashya Rakshibe Krishna Vishwasa Palana. It is one of the limb of Sharanagati, that my Lord will always protect me. He is Mangal Bhavana. He cannot do any amangal to me. What is considered to be an odd or a difficult moment or a provoking situation in the mundane sense is accepted as a special mercy of the Lord. Now we see if in that story, the lady, the only possession she had was a cow, but Krishna took away. So as mundane sense, we see that what has happened, Lord has taken away the only possession she had, but actually that was the mercy of the Supreme Lord. So in one of the class, I heard from His Holiness Chandramauli Maharaj. He was quoting a very beautiful story. I know you must have also heard if you joined the morning Bhagavatam class in Bhakti Sangha. He gave that there was a farmer, okay, and that farmer has only one horse and one child, okay. And that one horse was his only source of his livelihood, and he had one son. So these three living entities were there in one home. And one day what happened? This horse, he left that home. He went away. And his only source of livelihood was gone. And the neighbors started saying, "Oh, how inauspicious you are. How much, I don't know what fortune you have taken birth, that you have only one horse as the livelihood, and that horse has also gone." But this farmer was a devotee. He has full faith in Krishna. So he said, "Good luck, bad luck, who knows? Who knows that the horse who has gone away is something good happening to me or something bad? Good luck, bad luck, who knows?" So the neighbors kept quiet. Few days later, the horse came back with many horses. So now, previously he had one horse, now he has many horses. So again, the neighbors came and said, "Wow, you had such a good fortune. And now you have got so many horses." But this farmer, getting this opulence of many horses, was also not elated. He was still equipoised. When suffering happened, he was equipoised. When now happiness happens, he become equipoised. And he said, "Good luck, bad luck, who knows?" So he was not elated after getting so many horses. Few days later, now he has many horses. So the boy, he took ride on one of the horse and he went. And when he came back, he met with an accident. So he not lost, basically, he got injured badly. Again, the neighbors came and they said, "What was the use of getting so many horses? Now your child has become spoiled and he just took a ride and now he got injured." But again, this farmer said, "Good luck, bad luck, who knows?" Then there was an emergency declared in that place, in that kingdom, where every young man was supposed to join that military army. And the soldiers came to take this boy also. He was a young boy. And but because he was injured, he was spared. He was not taken away. And again, the neighbors came, "Wow, you're so lucky that your boy got injured, and because of which he doesn't have to go on the battlefield. And you are really so lucky." Again, the farmer said, "Good luck, bad luck, who knows?" So the story continued, but the point is that we have to understand that whether some suffering happens or some happiness happens, they come on their own accord. Okay, they come on their own accord. Nobody wishes, but they come on their own accord. And therefore, we should know. We should always, like, literally, I'm telling you, after hearing Maharaj, this has become a perfect line to say, "Good luck, bad luck, who knows?" So if anything happens to us, we should understand that it's Krishna's plan. Krishna is personally interfering, is intervening in our life. And this is what is Krishna's plan. He's personally intervening. When Krishna intervenes, then everything is auspicious. Yes, Devendra Govindadas Prabhu. Prabhu, you have raised your hand. You have something to say? Devendra Govinda Prabhu?
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, sorry. Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. My question was, why did Narad Muni started only for the north and not in the opposite direction or east or west?
Yeah. So actually, it has been explained in our Shastras that when we go for a spiritual journey, it's always good to go for north. Like we see the Pandavas also, when they came to know that Krishna has winded up his pastimes and left, at that time, Yudhishthir Maharaj handed over this kingdom to Parikshit Maharaj, and all the Pandavas along with Draupadi, they started for north. So north is considered to be the most auspicious direction to go, and especially for the spiritual advancement. And therefore, Narad Muni also started for north.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu. It's 6:27, but 9, almost 9 o'clock. We'll do one more verse and then we'll stop. Spittam janapadam statra pura grama vrajakaram khetakharvatavatischa vanani upavani cha. So when our Narad Muni started for north, what he came across? Yes, somebody can read the translation.
I'll read Mataji. Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. After my departure, I passed through many flourishing metropolises, towns, villages, animal farms, mines, agricultural lands, valleys, flower gardens, nursery gardens, and natural forest. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. So he crossed over valleys, all these flower gardens, but nothing allured Narad Muni. Why? Because he was fixed in his determination, in his dedication. So Prabhupada has written that man's activities in agriculture, farming, industries, gardens were there in all the yugas. They were there in the previous creation also, and in now the same activities are being carried. But the real thing is that we have to understand after many hundreds of millions of years, one creation is started by the law of nature, and the history of the universe repeats itself. So the mundane wranglers, they waste their time with archaeological excavations, without searching into the vital necessities of life. So we should find the solution for our vital necessities instead of digging out what has happened. So after getting an impetus in the spiritual life, Narad Muni, though even was a child, didn't waste a single moment with economic development. Although he passed towns and villages, mines and industries, nothing was able to allure Narad Muni because he was fixed in his determination. We'll read this verse because it is in continuation what all he saw. Chitradhatau vichitradin ibha bhagna bhujadrumam jalasyan shiva jalan nalina surasevita chitraswanai patha rathair vibramad brahmarashriya. So somebody can read. Yes, somebody.
I can. I passed through the hills and mountains full of reservoirs of various minerals like gold, silver, and copper, and through tracts of land with reservoir of water filled with the beautiful lotus flowers, fit for denizens of heaven, decorated with bewildered bees and singing birds.
Thank you, Guru. So he crossed over hills, mountains, reservoirs of gold, silver, copper. So this is how Narad Muni is telling that nothing was able to allure me. Okay, we'll go with one more verse. Nalavenu sharastanva kushaki chakaghavaram eka evatyatoham adakshram Vipinam Mahat Ghoram Prati Bhayakaram Vyaloka Shivajiram. Somebody can read translation.
I then passed alone through many forests of rushes, bamboo, reeds, sharp grass, weeds, and caves, which were very difficult to go through alone. I visited deep, dark, and dangerously fearful forest, which were the playards of snakes, owls, and jackals.
Thank you, Prabhu. So not only the pleasant conditions that Narad Muni faced, but Ghoram. See, it says Kusha Kichaka Ghoram. So Kichaka has been explained by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his Sarartha Darshini, where he has explained that Kichaka is a kind of a hollow bamboo. Okay, so it makes noise when it is blown by the wind. So it makes a very peculiar sound, and that sound is not a pleasing sound. So when you cross that dense forest, that sound that comes is a very ghoram. It is a very fearsome sound. And that also couldn't stop Narad Muni, even though he was a boy. But that also couldn't stop Narad Muni from going to his real destination of approaching the Supreme Lord. So he visited deep, dark, dangerously furious forest. This is again a figure of speech where Prabhupada is using deep, dark, dangerously fearful forest, which were the playards of snakes, owls, and jackals. So Prabhupada writes, it is the duty of a mendicant, the Parivajakacharya, to experience all varieties of God's creation by traveling alone through forest, hills, towns, villages. And a sannyasi is duty bound to take all these risks without fear. And the most typical sannyasi at the present age is Lord Chaitanya, who traveled in the same manner through the Indian central jungles, Charikand forest, where he enlightened even the tigers, bears, snakes, deer, elephants, and many other jungle animals. And then we get lessons from our dear Srila Prabhupada, where he came to West. Practically hardly any Indians were there at that time. Prabhupada came to West. Nobody was there to receive him. He didn't know to go left or right, but he came for our benefit to deliver all of us. So he took that risk. That risk was not an ordinary risk. Imagine going in a cargo ship, staying there in cargo ship for practically 1.5 months without any food. Like he was literally on the mercy of that captain, who was kind enough to get him some rice cooker where he can boil some rice. Otherwise, Prabhupada struggled a lot in that Jaladuta. 3 heart attacks, imagine. But still he took that risk. And this is the risk that all the sannyasis take. But only those sannyasis who are true sannyasis, who are always suhrit sarva bhutanam, who are always thinking for the well-wishing of all the living entities, not the pseudo sannyasi that we see in today's day and age. Okay, so one who changes his dress to make propaganda in a different man is a different man from the original ideal sannyasi. So one should, however, take the vow to stop this social intercourse completely and devote exclusively for the service of the Lord. That is the real sannyasi, who doesn't engage into all this politics, but his only motive is for the welfare of their disciples. The change of dress is only a form of a formality. Lord Chaitanya did not accept the name of a sannyasi because he was initiated in a Bharati Sampradaya, but he didn't change his name. And in this age of Kali, so-called sannyasis should also not change their former names, following in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya. In this age, devotional service of hearing and repeating the glories of the Lord is strongly recommended. And one who takes the vow of renunciation of family life need not imitate the Parivajakacharya like Narad and Lord Chaitanya, but may sit down at some holy place and devote his whole time and energy to hear and repeatedly chant the holy scriptures left by the great acharyas like the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, taking Kshetra sannyas. Okay, there are so many Prabhupada disciples and other saints who are still in Vrindavan, who you don't even recognize. If you go to Sri Radha Kund in Vrindavan, there are so many disciples of Prabhupada who are staying in a small hut, and they have a picture of Prabhupada. They are non-stop, they are chanting, they are doing their bhajan, but they are not even exposed to the general public. That's how they have been. But again, it's the adhikar that we have. Some sannyasis we see today, also the disciples of Prabhupada, but they travel throughout. Even at the cost of their health, they travel. The classic example of His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. See how much he has struggled. Physically, he struggles, but in his spirit, he is always enlivened and always waiting for the opportunity to deliver people. So they take this amount of risk just to preach this message of Lord Chaitanya and to be the soldier in the mission of Srila Prabhupada's army. But there are also some disciples of Prabhupada who are Bhajananandis. So it depends. Somebody are Bhajananandis, some are Goshtanandis. Again, it depends upon the adhikar that we get from our spiritual master. So our Narad Muni also was traveling, but he was traveling and he traveled so many places. He came across so many places, but nothing could allure him, nothing could demoralize him. But he started his journey. So we will stop here. From text 14, we will try to cover on Tuesday, next Tuesday. Okay. So thank you all so much. We will stop. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So let's see if we have any quick questions. Those who want to leave, they are more than welcome to leave the call. Any questions, any comments, any realizations? Anybody wants to share anything? Please go ahead. Yes, Sankari Kaur Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, first of all, please accept my most respectful obeisances at your lotus feet. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and my respectful obeisances to all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis here. Mataji, you were narrating this beautiful story about how Krishna and Arjun, they visited these two homes. One benediction is you become very opulent, may your riches increase. And then when he comes out and he says, Arjun asks that, okay, why this thing? And so he said, listen, he's so attached already, so he'll take birth as a snake. Even in Bhagavad Gita, we read that those who do vikarmas, they actually go down in the hellish planets. Basically, they take lower births. So I was thinking that, oh, we say, hey, Krishna, Karuna Sindhu, Dina Bandhu, how come this is happening? And then after some thinking, I thought that, okay, this could be the mercy of the Lord, because only in human birth do we incur karma. We do not incur karma as animals. And so probably it's the cooling period, but I again did not want to speculate. So I went to my Guru Maharaj and I asked him that, Guru Maharaj, is this also Lord's mercy that he stops our human birth so that we do not keep piling on karmas? And then once that cooling off is done, we again get a chance to come back. And he said that, yes, Prabhupada actually mentions this in one of the purports, that we should actually always think of Krishna, and this is his quality, he's Karuna Sindhu. So if we hear that, somebody will take birth as this or that, maybe in the animal yoni, which is lower than the human birth, we should understand that Krishna is actually stopping that soul from incurring more karma. So that they don't keep piling it up. It should not become so much that it takes like, I don't know how many births, but he said that, yes, we should actually think like that even even taking animal births is actually the mercy of Lord, because he's stopping at least pausing our karma cycle for some time, get cooled off through the process of evolution, come back to human life, and then we will see how you progress from there. So just wanted to share that little thing, Mataji, that even for 1 second we should not think that, oh, किसी को सर्प योनि मिली तो क्यों भाई ऐसा Prabhu to itne deen dayal hai. So just wanted to share that, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Sankari Kaur Mataji. Yes, that is also Krishna's mercy, but now we are all got this human form of life. And not only just a human form of life, we have got devotees association. We have been connected in Prabhupada's movement. We have been initiated in Prabhupada's movement, or we are at least on the path of getting initiation in this Prabhupada movement. So we should not take it for granted. As again, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj would always say, take it this Krishna consciousness on an urgent basis. Don't think that, okay, let me linger on more, because this is, see, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come, and it's just 500 years ago. But is this the first time that Mahaprabhu has come? No. He comes in every day of Brahma, followed by Krishna Chandra, who comes in Dwapar Yuga, in 28th Yuga. So it's not the first time that Mahaprabhu has come. So how many times we have heard about Mahaprabhu and we are still here? That means we are so adamant that we want to swim against the current. That we say that, no, I will be my Ishvara. We have so many attachments. And that shows that how arrogant the jiva is, how conditioned the jiva is, that the jiva itself doesn't want to leave this world, even after getting so many opportunities. But this age is special because this time Srila Prabhupada came. And along, yes, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, but with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his Senapati Bhakta, his dearmost associate, that is our dear Srila Prabhupada came. So let's take it as the final journey. And even though if it is not a final journey, it is okay. But from our side, we should show our surrenders to the Supreme Lord, and we should beg for His mercy that make this life as the last life. No matter how much you do, how much obstacles come, how much test you take, it's okay, but make this life as my last life. That should be our mode. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Sankari Kaur Mataji, for sharing that. Yes, Param Bhavani Mataji, go ahead.
Krishna Mataji, Dandavad Pranam, as well as super blissful class Mataji. Mataji, as you mentioned the line that this is how Krishna drags the soul, and you mentioned that how Srila Prabhupada, in Hindi there is a proverb, you mentioned Gagar mein Sagar, like so much thing into just one line. And when I was listening that, I was feeling like if the jiva is not ready, that still Krishna will do it forcefully. Like Krishna wants more the jiva back than jiva wants Krishna to.
Very true. Very true. So this is the mercy of our Gaur Nithai, our Nityananda. This is the mercy that is coming from Srimati Radharani. Yeah. Thank you, Parambhavani Mataji. Krishna wants us more than we want to go back. That's what creates all these opportunities. Yes, go ahead.
Sometimes, like I was feeling afraid, like I don't want to lose my parents. I don't want to, like, I don't know, but if I'm not ready, but Krishna will still do it. I'm a little afraid.
If Krishna sees that great sincerity and dedication, and if Krishna decides he's Swarat, he can do anything. So don't be afraid. Just dance on Krishna's tune. Easy said than done, Mataji. But the reality is this. There is no point in retaliating. There is no point in revolting. No. Just dance on Krishna tune.
Mataji, I believe I have heard from you or someone, I forgot, but there was a family in Australia whose son died, but they were preaching and serving in the temple with even without even losing 1 inch of enthusiasm. That who mentioned as a, you know, how we should dance in Krishna's will, because Brajavasis dance in Krishna's will. That's why they're called Brajavasi. Like Braja means dancing in Krishna's will. And probably someone I was listening gave this example of those Australian Grihastha devotees. They lost their one of children, but everyone was, oh, he her grace Nitai Sevini Mataji. And she was mentioning that she met those devotees in Australia, and they came to Mayapur and met our Guru Maharaj and Mataji. And Mataji came and they were serving the Mayapur temple, and Guru Maharaj so sincerely and nicely. And then another person told Mataji that they just lost their children, like one of children. And Mataji was shocked that even after losing a child, how can the parents be so dedicated to Krishna? And they never blamed Krishna even for a second, even for 1 second. That's what they told. Like,
Yes, ma'am.
Mataji.
So many examples are there. Even I know one family, they have 2 sons and one, younger child they lost, and that child was also in his teenage. But still, I'm seeing that family, especially that Prabhu is still preaching, giving so many classes, doing all his services. So this is the dedication that the devotees carry. And that dedication is Rakho bhi maro bhi jo ichha tumhara, nitya das prati tu adhikar. When we have become and taken this title of Das and Dasi, then what adhikar we have? Nothing. We are just the slave, we are just the puppets in the hand of Krishna. So, Rakho bhi maro bhi jo ichha tumhara. Whatever you want, do it with me, Krishna, because Nitya Das Prati Tu Adhikar, because I have accepted this title of Das and Dasi, and therefore now you have full adhikar on me. Just like a slave, there is a servant and there is a slave. The servant still have a choice to quit his master, right? But a slave, does he have any choice? No, he doesn't have any choice. He's always on the orders of his master. So we are also that slaves. What is that bhajan that Bhakti Vinod Thakur sings? Tomhar kukur. What is that?
Kukur,
Oh, no. Kukur. Yes, we are. Thank you. Thank you, Divyangi Mataji. Yes, I am your dog. I am dog at your house. That's the patka we have, that patta of the dog. And a dog is bound with a chain. We are also bound with this chain. So now this is surrender. Whatever you do, Krishna. If you are happy, I'm happy. So that should be the attitude. I know it's very hard, Param Bhavani Mataji. It's extremely hard when such reversals comes in our life. But ultimately we have to accept. If we have accepted the title of Das and Dasi, then we have to accept no matter what. Therefore, be very cautious before you sign any contract. But once you sign the contract of initiation, then you have no choice of looking back.
Yeah, I have already signed the contract, Mataji.
Yeah, so now no looking back. Okay, and Krishna is always Mangal Bhavan. Just remember this. He will never do anything inauspicious. Externally, superficially, any obstacles, any provoking situation comes, looks like a great suffering. But ultimately, he's Mangal Bhavana, Mangalahari. He's always Mangal Bhavan. He always does auspicious.
True, Mataji. Thank you so much. My humble obeisances to you, Lotus Feet. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, dear, please. Yes, yes, Divyangi Mataji, please go ahead.
Just thanking you, Mataji, for the very beautiful discussion.
Thank you, Mataji. All glories to Prabhupada. All glories to our Guru Vargas who are taking our hand and helping us and showing the path. So all glories, all credit goes to our Guru Vargas. Yes, so we can stop here. Vancha kalpatarubhischa kripa sindhupa evacha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, ग्रंथ राज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, all the assembled Vaishnavas की जय. Thank you. We'll see you on Tuesday.
I just created a Sunday Mataji ki jai.
Gaur Bhakta